My name is Mona, and this is my channel, Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I am a professional intuitive empath, and I have a message for you today. For all of my single ladies, all the single ladies, and all of the people that are swearing themselves to be outside of relationship for the rest of their life because they've been hurt inside of relationships. A message for you: it is not possible to heal relational trauma outside the concept of relationships, or outside of the context, rather, excuse me, of relationships. I couldn't populate the full title because you know how that goes with a live, but I'll have that up there for you by the time you're watching this back, or by the time many of you are. The way that we heal things, especially relationally, is inside of relationships. And something that will happen after a particularly hard bout or go around with a toxic partner is that we will swear relationships away. I have a few friends that I watch that are on social media, that are actual friends in real life, and also some that are parasocial friends that I don't know in real life, but we communicate, connect, and share messages back and forth. And one of them is a conservative comedian, Mari King, and interesting name, guy from Kentucky, booming southern accent, girl dad. And he is dealing with a drug addicted, very stubborn mother of his child, and he is raising a baby, a literal baby by himself right now. And in any case, we've had some, communicative exchanges back and forth, and whatever else. He's a sweetheart of a guy, but he is swearing off relationships because he's in the painful state that we all have been in regarding relationships and feeling like I'm not going to do this ever again. I am never doing this. And when I heard him, I recognized myself as I had been through that, just like many of you listening have. And hear it with clients every day too. But it just struck home to me that it is a state that we go through, and it is part of what all of us will process, but it's not a state we're supposed to stay in. And I know, and I didn't say it to Amari because why ruin the fun of his process regarding thinking it is over for him. Pardon me, guys. Just give me a second here. Because sometimes that's a comfortable place for us to be, to think that we'll never have a relationship again and that we set ourselves free of all future pain. But it is not possible, if you're healthy, to really heal and move on without diving back into the context of relationship. In my case specifically, I can only teach from what I've learned. The healing that has happened a lot by myself, a lot with my angels, a lot without anybody's help, and then a great swath of healing happened, juxtaposed relationships. So friendships for me were where I healed because friendships were where I was broken. And I have had loving friends come in and do things that were healing, and they didn't do it conscientiously. They did it because they were guided by my angels or their angels to touch a place in me that I had shut down and said, I write this off forever because of the pain that was lingering in me. We all will get to that point, and it's something that I did. I remember having an interaction with a friend, and I was advising her about business, and I was advising her that someone was not to be trusted. And she confessed to me that the person that I was advising her about had warned her about taking my advice, and not anybody that knew me, just a random person that had an axe to grind because they had coveted the position that I was in with that person. We've been friends for umpteen years, share a lot of synchronicities, a lot of angelic communications, a lot of numerology communications, a lot of crossed over loved ones. That person has had a lot of death in her family. And some of her relatives, just her brother specifically, comes through and talks to me sometimes, and also talks to us when we're together. And this friend has been a dear friend. You've heard me refer to her here, if you've been a long time subscriber, as my bulldog. And she stands up for me. She's not a daily person in my life. She's a person in my life when things aren't going right. She shows up like the Marines, and she does cleanup duty, in the most majestic, powerful ways, has advocated for me with tears streaming down her face to heads of hospital to say, my friend, this shouldn't be treated this way. This is a disgrace. I am grateful for her. But in that moment, when she told that to me, she wasn't doing it to be messy. She wasn't doing it to triangulate me. She was doing it, and she didn't understand she was facilitating healing for me, because in an abusive situation, I'd had someone who took the words of someone who didn't know me at all, just like the person literally had only met me once that was saying this to her, just didn't like what she felt like I had was some kind of stronghold. She didn't know our past history and the other things I had predicted that I'd been right, and the way that she ran things by me when she was going through her dark nights, and I was a good advocate and friend for her, just like she'd been for me. She didn't understand our history. A quick communication cannot cover all of that. But the woman wanted to step in and create a wedge, but my friend had my back. And she didn't understand the depth of pain I'd gone through in another situation. But that act that she did specifically healed me from someone else that I would never get an apology from, someone else that I would never even trust to apologize to me and never even allow around my energy or physical body again in my life. And so when that happened, I thought, well, how am I going to heal this? And my angel said, don't worry, we'll get it right. And they did. They sent in somebody else with this exact same scenario, except that person didn't choose all of the wrong answers on the test and didn't make all of the left turns instead of the right ones. They actually came to me and thereby, in that regard, healed it. So instead of being dishonest like the other person, this person came to me and said, this person had said this to me, which made me kind of chuckle and laugh because I thought, well, now that you said it, my antenna is up even more for you because I know exactly who Monette is in my life and what she does and how often she's been right about the people in my life, from lovers to friends to opportunities regarding jobs. And so that person didn't know that. So she thought, so now I'm looking at you with the side eye, but also I'm having some real issues with her business wise. Can you take a look at that? So she doubled down for me, which was exactly what didn't happen the opposite way. When someone else that someone else barely knew didn't know me at all, and they began to opine about the things that they thought that they heard me say if they were watching my channel. So it was a very painful experience, because in the other experience I didn't get to cuss out the other person and or say to my dear friend of umpteen years, how could you even believe anything someone that doesn't even know me says when you know me, actually? Well, that other relationship helped me heal that exact wound that someone else caused, that I will never heal with them, but it healed with someone else, because they said this is what it looks like when someone's listening to us, meaning the angels and ancestors that are speaking to them about your merit as a friend. So I healed inside of a relationship another thing that was broken. She did other things that were healing for me that the other person did not do and would not do. They were never about choosing me. And even though me and this friend had not always had a perfect path or track record, we learned from our past mistakes actually and grew to move forward. And with great respect do we speak about the value we find in each other, because when the going got tough and bad decisions were made, we at least came back around to say, I realized how valuable you were, and I value and appreciate you. I advise highly that you forgive people that can do that. You don't let anybody back in, but I could see real change. And when I tell you this person has showed up and been a friend, she has. But what that person, and the reason she may very well have still been allowed in my life, one second, guys. The reason she may have very well been allowed in my life and allowed to stay for so long is for that moment, for such a time as this, to heal that place where the wound existed from someone else. Regarding love, you guys have heard me talk about not feeling accepted and my own issues of that. And I have someone in my life who has been healing wounds that never were caused by her. That she has such a clean slate with me regarding any wounding and regarding anything like that. Um, but she healed so many other terrible things that somebody else did. And she didn't know that she was doing it. because I didn't tell her every nook and cranny of the past relationship. Even though she was a good friend, she held me and she observed it. She watched a lot of my videos, so she knows me intimately in a way that we don't always discuss. She always lets me know she's watching, and she was a big fan, and she was number counting, and as I was growing and getting to 1,000 and down to the 99th, she was fantastic. But she was sent in my life as an earth angel to help me heal the broken parts. And one of the things I spoke about recently was it's in Goldilocks and the three Airbnbs. It's a video, that's the name of the video. I speak about the fact that she looked at me and she said, "No more Airbnbs when you're here with me." This was a wound created by someone quite literally leaving me outside, not being receptive when I would drive 8 plus, 9 plus, 10 hours to go visit them at their house. They delighted and they did it for a couple years in a row. I wouldn't go back for years because I believe in the rule of three. So someone does something to you three times, pay attention, and you probably have learned your lesson in that situation. But I realized that this person was going out of her way to trigger abandonment issues in me because they had them. And that other person could never and would never. What she did do is she healed it. She healed me in so many ways. The great part of my healing happened in this connection that I've had with this friend, and it was in ways where she would step in and do things and say things and claim me. And I know that sounds crazy, right? I am 41 years old, and to say someone's claiming me and acting like that's some magical thing, well, in the relationship with the covert narcissist I was in, it was a magical thing because she spent a lot of time delighting in gaslighting me and denying the reality of our connection or our mutual feelings, even when she would spend the previous day telling me about how connected we were and mutually feeling. You understand? She would love bomb me and then gaslight me immediately after and act like she had no idea what that meant and what I was saying. She was terrified of her attraction and also used it to weaponize against me because she wanted it as power. She didn't love me. So that's fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Weepy, weepy, sad story. You guys have heard it. But the reason I say that we heal in the context of relationship is because the person that God sent in absolutely loved me and has loved me in every one of those broken places in a way that no one else could have because I don't have past triggering history. God sent me like a fresh earth angel that I don't have a bad history with. Even the other friend I just spoke about, me and her had been through a few trenches. So the reason she values me now is because there was a time when she did not so easily and where she was easily swayed by boyfriends, relationships, or other opportunities. But the good thing that I respect about her is that she came back and she apologized to me, but then she didn't just apologize, she walked out living and showing up for me in ways that were so incredible that no one else could have done it in my life. So those friendships, I grew up with Girl Scouts and in the Girl Scouts for 9 years. And at the start of every meeting, we would sing the song, "Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other is gold." I have some oldie goldies and I have a new silver. But the thing about it is those goldies have a patina that I so appreciate and really lessons in the relationship that were great, but they help to heal my broken places. Silver and gold both. Yeah. The silver has been specific and special because it's not an experience I have gotten often, and it may be one that you don't. Someone might show up in your life that doesn't seem like they're your type, that fits in, that XYZ. Like you might really think, like, what am I doing here with them? And it wasn't until she started to one by one do things that this other person didn't do and wouldn't do. And she didn't know the things because I didn't tell her. Even listening to these my videos, she couldn't know them because I wasn't going into depth. I was going into depth about my pain, but I wasn't going into depth about nuanced things that she would do that I know my angels dropped into her brain to do. Ways to speak to me, ways to treat me, ways to embrace me, ways to not embrace me if I was triggered by touch. She was absolutely brilliant with helping me heal. I was terrified of that. I got to be honest because of codependency. And that's something that I worked on greatly in that past relationship. I was incredibly codependent. That person was codependent on me. And but did a really great magic trick smoke screen of making it believe that she wasn't. But in the departure, I think she understood exactly how much she was. And it was so excruciating because she knew her power in that regard. And that's why I was like my friend Amari, my parasocial friend Amari. And I was like, I'm swearing off relationships forever, perpetually. I don't want a new friend. I don't want a new bestie. I don't want a new boostie. I want nothing to do with relationships because it's just left me hurt and alienated. And this is where I learned my greatest lessons. All the single ladies, it's not the place you stay if you want to not contract emotional rabies. You actually have to be around people. Hold on, guys. Excuse me. You actually have to be around people in order to heal that. And so the angels will bring in people that will finally love you back. And you'll know that it is angel given and driven because the way that they love you back will be places that fill up the wounds that no one knows about. A lot of people question the silver in my life because the gold felt away. A lot of the gold in my life felt away. What makes her so bright? Why does she get to stay? And it wasn't because they hated her, but they didn't understand the position. They know my loyalties. But the truth of the matter is, I didn't understand her position. I didn't understand why we were so driven to be with each other or be around each other. And the reason was, is because she had to teach me. She healed me in so many ways. And it's because I didn't push her away that I got those blessings. And that's not to say I didn't try at times. It is to say that she wouldn't let me because she understood she was assigned to me, like I had been assigned to many. And so I finally met my match, can we say, and that match healed me. Again, a cautionary tale about running headlong into codependency when I wanted to be enmeshed because I only knew two ways. It was all or nothing. And with this relationship, I learned balance. And I learned that enmeshment was not at all what I wanted. What I wanted was safety in a relationship. And the closest I could ever get to it in my previous incarnations with narcissists was enmeshment and trauma bonding. There is no trauma bonding that happened here. We have no trauma that we bond over. We have similarities. We have things that are awkward and interesting and funky and weird, but there's no trauma bonding here. And I've said it often, if she's out of my life tomorrow and she disappears, I'll be sad, but it's not going to cause me tears for years. And that's not to poo poo her energy or her commitment and contribution to my life. It just means that I finally have adjusted that deficiency in my body right regarding codependency and clinging and the rest of it. We owe no one in relationship, but people come in and they can edify us and they can clean us out. And I didn't make it some big heavy thing for her. She checks on me daily, weekly, sometimes hourly when I needed it. And she stands with me, but I healed because of a relationship. What I didn't do is run right into a relationship with her immediately, fully, deeply. We were cursory friends, it was on the periphery, but I was very careful to wait until it got more meaty, until I really dived deep, until I was really showing up fully as myself. And myself is not always just love and light. Myself is bombastic. Myself is insistent. When I love a friend, I want you to win, and I can be very bossy about that. So myself has all these varying layers and intricacies, just like yourself does too. And the thing that happens is when someone hurts us, we say, I'm never going to expose myself to another boo. But the universe will expose you. I was fully exposed to my silver. She saw parts of me I didn't want to see. She called me on my bullshit, actually, kindly and sweetly. She guided me. But most importantly, I reiterate again, she healed me. And she did it by loving the places that the other person said were impossible to love, by showing up and being solid in places where the other person was like, it's impossible for me to be solid. She showed up by being safe, a safe haven, by loving me, by figuring me out, by giving me space when I was moody, by figuring out my sleep patterns and if I wasn't sleeping, what that meant, by understanding my dreams and what messages were heaven sent or maybe coming from ego. She took the time to study me and to get to know me. We were together recently. Well, we're together quite often. That's another thing. That's a thing she healed in me. She doesn't even know that the other person always made time spent together. She was excited about it. She would do countdowns. It was cute. The toxic person, however, it was always such a struggle, and she would sabotage every single time. To some degree, she would sabotage our visit. That never happens with Silver, period. And the reason that doesn't happen is not just because I'm now so magical or she is, but because I prayed for safety in relationship if I ever got into one again. And that's something I want you to know that you can ask for specifically. What feels right to you and what feels right to thee. Sometimes we overstep our boundaries, but I want you to understand again, we heal contextually in the very thing we may swear off because it hurts too bad, and we no longer want to be kind of thrown off our balance by being with somebody else. That's why it's imperative for you to first be with yourself. A lot of times, one second, guys, we watch our exes get immediately in a codependent rush into the next relationship. And we think, God, they never loved me the whole time. No, they don't want to be by themselves. It has very little often to do with the other person that you think they're running to. I spent some time by myself before I really even let Silver deeply in because I needed to make sure that I wasn't just being codependent again. You know? I think now about where we are, and I'm so grateful that I didn't let my codependency push it far and quickly in the beginning. Sometimes you want something or you want things to go a certain way or you have this envisionment and God says no, hold, wait, stay. And you're like, why? I don't get it. And then later you look back and you get it. I get it. But what was in store for me was that I was going to heal relationally with someone who took their time with me, someone who was patient with me, someone who was loving to me, and someone who esteemed me and reasoned with me. You can have the same thing. And the reason I know you'll have it is because that's the same energy you bring or have brought to someone else. Detach from the person that you thought was going to fulfill that emotion for you. When I say someone was not my type, it's no disparagement. It just means we all have people that we think we're going to be around and like. A vibe, a frequency we're used to tapping into. And this person did not fit that because she was ascended to a place that I had never been at. And my angels looked at me and said, we'd like you to come too. And they assigned me to her. And they said, that's your boo. Go get her out of these trenches, help her to stop feeling blue. But at no time is she supposed to be fully dependent on you. The lesson after a heartbreak is interdependency, not codependency, not trauma bonding, not clinging stage master 10 to the third degree. It's about learning that you are you and they are they or she or he. Individuality can exist in relationships and the best one contain it. So before you go swearing off ever being in one again, understand that you don't fully heal unless you do a few trust falls with someone who really will catch you, who will not neglect you purposely, who is human just like you, so they may drop the ball from time to time, but it will be a ball that's discussed and brought back around. It will be time frames that make sense. It'll be energy that doesn't drag you down. You deserve that. and you will not actually fully cauterize, move on, and heal from the past until you let your guard down. So, whoever God sends you, vet them. I would highly recommend you do. Take time to make sure this is a person that is there for the most authentic version of you. And once you know that, check on them too, and then get busy with living life because you have work to do. And the work will not be as hard as you think. The work will not drive you to drink. The work will not push you to the brink, to the edge, to the ledge, where you will stand there and think that's your past relationship that swirled down the sink. This one catches you surprisingly, without force, effortlessly. It fills in the nooks and crannies that were hollowed out by someone who didn't give a damn what you were about. It nourishes you back to life slowly, a little at a time. It builds you up, up, and up until you remember that you are divine and that relationships for two can be incredibly sublime. And so it is. We heal the past in other relationships. Done correctly, it's absent of codependency, full of interdependency and actual intimacy. That's how you get to be the highest in the room with someone who fills your mind up with ideas. It's an excerpt from a song by Travis Scott, but it's a message that is not to be forgot. Your work and the real healing will be completed with another human. Or maybe they're an alien, or a Minnetonkan, or a Palladian, or an Atlantean. You name it, you call it, but pay attention to the signs that they were sent to you. And when you know that that's true, get busy with the work that the two of you have to do so that you can finally heal that relationship wound and you can move on together and explore the lighter vibration and the higher side of life where loving another doesn't end or cause you strife, where you can have an emotional husband or wife, or an actual husband or wife, or a bestie for life, whatever it is. Your plight is not always to be absent and empty. It's to have your cup filled. It is to be overflowing with plenty. If you're a light worker and an angel, your angels and ancestors will not leave you in the lurch, and they will not leave you carrying a torch for an ex. It's the Olympic torch eternally burning. A new fire is lit, and together you and this earth angel that are sent say, what's next? So good sharing energy with you. Come back and join me next time, and we will continue to evolve together.